Hey everybody, welcome to Urban Inkspot, and specifically welcome to Urban Inkspot Chronicles. This is a new series that I'm introducing into my channel for 2025. So let me talk a little bit about the format of this video, what you can expect from this video and from future videos. So first of all, I'm going to outline some just general considerations that have brought me to this video recording. So we're going to talk about the overview of my ink journey so far, what I'm trying to accomplish with my collection. Do I have an ink philosophy, which might be a little deep, maybe outside the scope of this video, but in general, do I have an ink philosophy? And then I'm aiming to answer the question of, is the ink worth buying for me? Then I'm going to do an introduction really to what you can expect through this series, the what, the why, the how, the when. I'll talk about how I'm going to handle incoming or outgoing inks, and then we'll do a collection overview and a weigh-in. So let's start with the overview of my ink journey so far. Now, I'm relatively new to a fountain pen journey. I started my journey in 2021 at the end of the year. And I would say that I'm still in the phase where I'm building up my collection of both pens and inks. And some of the advice I heard early on is to really experiment to find what you like. Now, with pens, that can actually get pretty expensive and would be restrictive for me. But because inks come in at a more accessible price point, it's a really interesting and accessible way to explore. Now, if I think back to how I've always imagined in my head that my ink collection and my pen collection would look, I would have, in my make-believe scenario, I would have that one knockout, standout pen with a signature ink and a nib that is custom ground to embellish my signature and literally anything I want to use it for. It would work across all paper types. I mean, we know that that's really not reality, and that certainly hasn't been my experience so far. In fact, my experience has been pretty far from it. Instead, I started with 3 bottles of ink to start my collection, randomly selected, not knowing if I'd like the ink or how much I'd even use in a given period of time. And now, as you see before you, since December-ish of 2021, this is the mishmash of bottle collection, bottle inks that I have. Now, I've done a swatch video of all of my samples. We're not going to be talking about those in this video series. This is really just for my mishmash of bottle inks. So if this type of series that focuses on inks and ink collection over time is interesting to you, let me know, and I can do a separate video series about my pen collection and how that has grown and continues to grow over time. But this series is going to be just about bottled inks. So what am I trying to accomplish with my collection? Well, as I've spent more time in the hobby and watched YouTube and Instagram content, I see so many different approaches where on one end, someone may be really intentional with a handful of inks that serve specific purposes, or I've also seen folks where their enjoyment of the hobby might include a very wide range of inks and a wealth of choices for using inks across all kinds of writing and artistic expression. Now, for me, I live in a small apartment in New York City, so I don't have the gift of unlimited space for my hobbies. I also happen to know, because I'm a bit of a nerd and I've kind of been measuring this stuff already, I also know approximately how much ink I use on an annual basis. So that somewhat influences how I approach new inks that come into my collection. And I think I'm somewhere between those two scenarios that I described, where I'm trying to lean more towards the intentionally selected, curated collection in an attempt to find a handful of signature inks, because I live in a smaller apartment. And like I said, I don't have that gift of unlimited space. So, do I have an ink philosophy? Well, no. What I want to do this year, though, is take you along with me while I measure how much ink I'm actually using, so that I can maybe make a dent in my current collection. And as I keep this concept front and center, I want to develop an ink philosophy that I can apply to my collection. What stays, what goes, what comes in. And that can also help me decide the next thing, which is this new ink worth buying for me? Now, inks cost different amounts. They come in different sizes of bottles. They have different properties. They come from different distributors. The formulas are all different. The choices are really mind-boggling. And I'm also fortunate to have some incredible brick and mortar stores in New York City where I can swatch inks. I can also swatch inks at a pen show here and there if I'm lucky enough to go. And ideally, I can set some criteria through this year that will help me decide if that ink purchase is right for me. So, let's not oversell it. The Ink Chronicles is a very non-scientific approach to understanding how much ink I actually use. But it's also going to tell me which inks I'm using more often than others, what properties those inks have, and it just might help inform what purchase or repurchase I make going forward. So let's talk about the what, the why, the how, the when on these Urban Ink Chronicles. So every quarter, I'm going to measure in ounces and grams, because that's what I have available to me on my kitchen scale. I'm going to measure in grams and ounces the ink plus bottle, no packaging, of all of my inks that I'm starting the year with. And then throughout the year, I'm going to compare the last weigh-in to the new weigh-in, and maybe we'll talk through the number of times that I've inked inked the pens, how many pens I put them in, those kinds of extra things. I may even feature an ink of the quarter. I'm not sure yet. So let me know if there's anything interesting about this series that you'd like me to add in. So you'll see a weigh-in on April 1st. Well, in addition to today, you'll see a weigh-in on April 1st, July 1st, October 1st, and a year-end weigh-in, so that I can see really how I did on the inks that I'm bringing into the year. Now, not a firm set of rules, because for me, this hobby is about artistic expression and the joy I find in really slowing down and embracing a more analog experience. There is nothing that brings me more joy than seeing this ink transformed into a journal entry in my journals, across my planners, all of the different places where I use my pen and ink. So that's really what is at the forefront for me. How do I enrich my experience? How do I grow my enjoyment of this hobby. And that means, like I said, it's not a firm set of rules. And I want to be able to just embrace and enjoy that analog experience and the wellness and self-care I get out of putting my thoughts on paper. So I don't want to introduce anything that limits that enjoyment. I just want to understand it a little bit more. And because my career is in data, well, it doesn't really surprise me that that's how I plan to understand and use, data to understand my approach and my enjoyment. So a little tiny bit of housekeeping, how I plan to handle incoming or outgoing inks. Now, if I want a new ink and I have the money in the budget to buy it, I'm going to buy that new ink. But I don't want to look back on my purchases a year from now, and I don't want to end up storing more bottles of ink than I have room for or that I'm even using. So that's really the crux of what I'm trying to do here. And I am going to start measuring. So, one other question. Now, I'm going to be measuring these guys, and they're not in any particular order. I'm going to measure them in the order that I come across them, but I'm going to report out in the order that I purchase them. But if anybody knows how much any of these individual ink bottles weigh without ink in them, I can also use that, to understand how much ink I have left. But really, this is just a straight comparison to how much did it weigh at one point and how much did it weigh at the second point. That's really the unscientific method that I'm going about. Okay. PW Ackerman and Hogg. This is the SBRE Brown ink. I absolutely love this ink. Let's turn on my... This is set to grams. I'm going to go through and do the gram measurement first, and then we'll do the ounce measurement, and I'm not going to do them in the same order because this is going to get kind of messy and I don't have a ton of room for this. So it's on grams right now. Let me move this back just a tiny bit, just make sure we're in frame. And this is 219 grams. Let me move this back even more. 219 grams. Colorverse Shiny Black. A 185 grams. We'll talk about this guy later. This is Kiyono Outtro Azuke Ito. 127 grams. This is Diatramentis Document Ink Black. This one is actually almost gone. This was not one of my first ink purchases. This is one that I bought after my husband said, "You don't have any blue or black inks in your collection," and it kind of dawned on me that I did not. Okay, 102 grams. This I got as a sample. I'm not going to count this. I'm not going to count this guy. I am going to count this one. This is Diamine Deep Magenta. 32 grams. All right, is that everything that is without a box? It is. Okay, let's take a look at Mont Blanc Modena Red. This was a gift from my darling husband. This is 235 grams. My Sailor Manyo Shirakashi. This is a relatively new ink in my collection. This one is 194 grams. Vert Empire, I'm not sure, I think it's Ampere. This is also a relatively new ink in my collection. 118 grams. Oh my goodness, I love this ink. I found this ink in a random sample pack that I bought, and my goodness, this thing, I'll feature this ink at some point. I love this ink. This comes in at 64 grams. This is Organic Studio Aldous Huxley. Let me know if you want to see ink sample. If you want to see swatches of all of my bottled inks, I can definitely do a video on those so you can see how these look if you're not familiar with some of these inks. This is a new ink for me. This is Interstellar Bronze from Birmingham Pen Company. I bought this just in the last month or two. This comes in at 82 grams. This is my Pilot Iroshizuku Asagao. I bought this ink a few years ago to match a pen that I bought for my birthday. And, I went through a lot of different samples to find this one. I really do like this color a lot. It looks purple on the packaging, but this comes through on the pen that I mostly use it for. This comes through as a really beautiful blue for me, but it looks more purple here. This is 281 grams to start. Right, we got a little bit of an emergency vehicle going on in the corner in the background. Sorry about that noise. Okay, this is Pilot Iroshizuku Kirasami. This is a really pretty gray. It's a soft gray with some beautiful shading. You know what? I am not going to. I know this is a silly little thing. I'm not going to use that because I did say no packaging for the weigh-in other than the bottle. This is coming in at 288 grams. Again, it's Pilot Iroshizuku Kirasami. And my final, I'll get to this in a second. My final remaining bottle of Pilot Iroshizuku, and this is Murasaki Shikibu. And this one is coming in at 255 grams. Now, about this ink, you won't see a lot of ink left in this bottle. I will see if I can. I don't think you can really tell from here. I had it in my mind that I bought this by mistake. And so I went to the Big Apple Pen Club meetup a couple of months ago, and I gave out very generous samples of this ink. And when I say very generous, I filled up the sample ink vial almost and just gave out a whole bunch of them because I thought, somebody's going to get to use it. And then, funny story, I went flipping through my journal not too long ago and I saw some writing with this ink and I thought, oh my gosh, I must write with it. How is that? It's interesting to me that happens. I don't know if that happens to any of you guys, but that happened to me and I was like, I'm still not going to get through this ink in a long time, but it's just funny how at different times these inks might mean different things to us. Okay, this guy, I am going to weigh this exactly like it is. I did have one other bottle of Pilot Iroshizuku ink, and it was Kujaku. Now, I've almost completely finished that bottle of ink with the exception of what remains in here, and you won't be able to see that really well, but it is to about here. So I have about that much ink left. And so let's go ahead and weigh this. I've been putting this into some vac fillers, and this is a really nice thing by TWSBI. It's called the TWSBI Vac 20A ink bottle. And I've been using this to fill my inks, but this is all I have left. Now, this is coming in at 30 grams. Nope, 31 grams. I hope my battery's not going out on me. But I did weigh it in before at 0.85 ounces as this bottle by itself. So we're going to figure out exactly what that means, how much I have left in ounces and in grams. But that was Pilot Iroshizuku Kujaku. And I've decided I will not be rebuying that ink. Okay, this is my Platinum Classics inks. This is one of the very first inks that I bought. I love this ink. I forgot about it, actually, when I was doing the ink swatch video of my sample inks. I made mention, I'll link that video for you. I made mention that I didn't have any green inks of a particular shade, and of course I do. Very first ink, can't believe I forgot this one. This is coming in at 165 grams. I bought this bottle of ink before I understood what iron gall inks are. So, I probably should have done a tiny bit more research on that because I'm a little bit nervous to use this and keep it in a pen for very long. I did talk to someone at the Fountain Pen Hospital probably about a year or so ago where he said I shouldn't be keeping ink in my pen for a long period of time anyway, but with some of these more modern iron gall inks, even though they are classic inks, that they are not as impactful or hurtful to pens as they may have been in the past because they're a more modern formulation. He was just giving me some general advice, but he also did say, you know what, it's just not good form. It's not great for your pens to keep ink in it for a long time. So I did commit that anytime I use this, it's intentional. I add it into my pen and then I use it. And I use it up, and then I clean the pen out. So that's been my approach so far. I don't know if any of you guys have iron gall inks and how you plan to use them, but that's been my current approach. This is Kiyono Outtro Kokeiro. This is a gorgeous ink for anyone who likes inks that have like a light green kind of shading. This is actually pretty true to form. And this is coming in at 123 grams. This is a relatively new ink to me. This is Lennon Toolbar Sesame Oil that I got at the Stationery Fest in August of 2024 put on by Yoseika Stationery. This guy's coming in at 89 grams. I also bought at the Stationery Fest, I also bought another Lennon Toolbar ink, and this is Bubble Tea, and this was Lennon Toolbar's ink for specific to Stationery Fest. This one's coming in at 85 grams. Oh, I guess I must have opened this one from the bottom. Oh, interesting. There's a number on here. I guess this is maybe bottle 102 that they made. I wonder how many they brought in for the... Who knows? I wonder how many they brought in for the event. Okay, this one is pretty new to me. This is Pelikan Edelstein Ink of the Year Golden Lapis from 2024. I got this at the Big Apple Pen Club meetup a couple of months ago. This, they have a swap table, which is really nice. That's where I put those Murasaki Shikibu samples. There was a full bottle of ink there. Wow, I know, how exciting. This one's coming in at 230 grams. Like, what a steal. I've been wanting to go to this pen club meetup for a really long time, and I just couldn't find a lot of information about them online. I met up with one of the folks who hosts the meetup at Stationery Fest in one of the fountain pen get-togethers, which was pretty exciting, and now I'm really excited to be going to those meetups. This is Diamine Oxford Blue. This is one of the first blues I bought, and this comes in at 168 grams. This is Diamine Oxblood, lovely ink. I have this inked up right now in my Esterbrook SD Botanical Garden with a smooth italic nib that was ground by Gina Salarino. I actually just did a progress report on that pairing in the very last video I did. This one's coming in at 163 grams. This is one of the first inks I bought. Haven't been through a ton of it though. This is the ink that I bought the day I bought my first gold nib pen, and I got it from Yoseka Stationery. This is their Origin Series #1 ink. It's a beautiful green. This one, I love that frosted bottle. That is so pretty. This one is weighing in at 81 grams. And the final one is Sailor Zaregokuro. Much smaller bottle, and this one comes in at 85 grams. Okay, so let's do this in reverse. Let's switch this to, see, I can do pounds and ounces, or I can do ounces. Let's do this one, because I suspect these will be lighter than I'll need that pound for. So Sailor Zaregokuro is coming in at 3.0 ounces. Yoseka Stationery Origin Series #1, 2.85 ounces. Diamine Oxford Blue, 5.95, is that right? 5.95 ounces. Let's see if I'll be able to get these guys back in the order that I had them in here. It's been taking some finagling to get these all into the space that I have dedicated to this. Okay, that's a little gross. Sorry. Diamine Oxblood, 5.75 ounces. That's real life. Sorry about that. That's a little gross. Okay. This is Pilot Iroshizuku, Kirasane, 10.15 ounces. Whoops. 10.15 ounces. Pilot Iroshizuku Asagao. I just realized I think that these opening boxes are probably in your ear really bad. Sorry about that. Pilot Iroshizuku Asagao is coming in at 9.9. Platinum Classics Forest Black, 5.80 ounces. You guys are probably going, put that one there, put that one over there. You guys are probably looking at this thinking, it's like a big old Jenga pile. No, not Jenga. Vert Ampere is 4.15 ounces. My SBRE Brown from PW Ackerman is 7.75 ounces. Put that right there. Let's see if this fits here. Kind of. Okay. Kyono Oto Kokeito. 4.35 ounces. That's pretty good. Okay, let's see. Murasaki Shikibu from Pilot Iroshizuku. Nine ounces. Pelican Edelstein Golden Lapis. Maybe I didn't have to seal these back up. Maybe I could have just left the boxes open. That's fine. I'm mostly done here. Pelican Edelstein Golden Lapis is coming in at 8.15 ounces. Oh, wow. This says to turn love into ink, and it says name 2024 Stationery Fest Bubble Tea. So good. Okay. This one is 3.05 ounces. I'm sure some of this stuff is going to end up, and some of this packaging is going to end up in my journal at some point. But right now we're just measuring. This is the other linen toolbar to turn love into ink. I don't know why I've never noticed that before. This is sesame oil. .15 ounces. Shiny Black from Colorverse. 6.55 ounces. Oh goodness, now this is going to be the challenge. Diatramentis Document Black. 3.65 ounces. Kyono Oto Azukeido. No box on this guy. I got him from a clearance bin at Goods for the Study. So I got him just like this. He was on sale. 10% off. 4.45 ounces. Diamine Deep Magenta, 1.15 ounces. Oh, I guess this is where you know what, yes, I'm going to go ahead and measure him just in case I change my mind. Aldous Huxley, 2.25 ounces. Aldous Huxley from Organic Studio. Yes. Oh, I was like, why do I have a big gap? Because I put this ink all the way on the other side. I almost missed you. Sorry, friend. This is Sailor Manyo Shirakashi, coming in at 6.85 ounces. This is Birmingham Pen Company, Interstellar Bronze, at 2.9 ounces. Here is the TWSBI VAC filler at 1.05 ounces, and 0.85 ounces of those are packaging. I do know that. And the final ink, well, I am gonna measure that one. I am actually going to measure this one. But the final larger bottle inks is the Modena Red by Mont Blanc. And this one's coming in at 8.3 ounces. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this one too, just in case I change my mind. I don't want to not have a starting point on this one. But technically, we consider this a sample, right? I feel like this is a sample. But let me go ahead and do it. This is 0.55 ounces, and I will change it to grams. This is 15 grams. So there you have it. This is the current measurement of all of my fountain pen ink bottles plus ink. And I'll be checking in on April 1st as the very next weigh-in. Again, if you want to follow along on this journey as I measure how, my collection is growing or changing over time, as I try to establish what my ink collection philosophy will be, and if future inks are worth buying, then please do consider liking and subscribing and setting the notification bell so that you can see any other content that I post on my channel. But that's it for now, folks. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.